I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone like it might explode. The afternoon light filtered through the bedroom curtains, the same cream-colored ones I'd hung 30 years ago when James and I first moved into this house. The fabric had faded over the decades, the pattern barely visible now, but I'd never replaced them. There was always something more important to spend money on, always someone else's need that came first. My phone buzzed again in my hand. Another message from Vanessa. I already knew what it said. I'd read it 6 times now, each reading making it more real, more cutting, more final. Mom, I've talked to David and we've made a decision. We think it's better if you don't come to Thanksgiving this year. You make everyone uncomfortable with your comments and constant questions. We need a drama-free holiday for once. Hope you understand. I didn't understand. 72 years old, and my own daughter was uninviting me from Thanksgiving because I made people uncomfortable. Before we continue, please subscribe and hit that notification bell, and let us know where in the world you're watching from in the comments. Now back to my story. I set the phone down on the nightstand next to the framed photo of James. He'd been gone 3 years now, and I still couldn't bring myself to sleep on his side of the bed. His pillow still had the faint indentation from his head, though I knew that was impossible. It was just my mind playing tricks, holding on to things that were already gone. My phone lit up with another text, this time from Brandon, my son. Hey Mom, Vanessa told me about Thanksgiving. I think she's right. You've been pretty negative lately and it affects everyone's mood. Maybe take this time to work on yourself. We'll see you at Christmas. Work on myself. I was 72 years old. My husband was dead. I lived alone in a house that was slowly falling apart around me. I'd spent the last 50 years raising children who now found my presence burdensome. What exactly was I supposed to work on? I stood up from the bed, my knees protesting the movement. The arthritis had been getting worse, but I hadn't mentioned it to anyone. Why bother? They had their own problems, their own busy lives. The last thing they needed was their aging mother complaining about joint pain. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. Mrs. Patterson was walking her dog. The Jensen kids were riding bikes in their driveway. Normal life. Normal families doing normal things on a Thursday afternoon. My phone buzzed a 3rd time. Grandma, Mom says you're not coming for Thanksgiving. That's probably good because honestly, you do ask a lot of personal questions and it's kind of awkward. No offense. Love you. That was from Sophie, Vanessa's oldest daughter, 16 years old. I'd raised that girl 3 days a week for 6 years while Vanessa built her real estate career. I'd picked her up from school, helped with homework, made her dinner, gave her baths. I'd been there for every milestone Vanessa was too busy to attend. The school plays, the science fairs, the parent-teacher conferences. And now I was awkward. I sat back down on the bed and did something I hadn't done in a very long time. I got angry. Not sad, not hurt, not confused, just purely, cleanly angry. Because somewhere between sacrificing everything for my children and being discarded by them, I'd lost myself completely, and I was done. I picked up my phone and opened my banking app, something I'd learned to do only recently when Brandon insisted I get with technology. Checking account, $1,247. Savings account, $4,100. At 72 years old, after James worked for 43 years and I taught elementary school for 35, this is what we had left. Because everything else, every dollar, every sacrifice, every dream deferred, had gone to our children. I opened my email and found the message I'd been avoiding for 2 weeks, the one from the county about my property taxes being overdue. $3,800 that I didn't have because I'd given Vanessa $4,000 last month for what she called an emergency roof repair. I pulled out the drawer in my nightstand and took out the old ledger James had kept. He'd tracked everything in his careful handwriting, every penny we'd given the kids, every loan, every emergency that was never repaid. I'd never looked at it after he died. Too painful, too much evidence of what we'd given up. But now I opened it, and I started reading. and with every page my anger grew hotter and sharper and more focused. By the time I finished, I knew exactly what I was going to do. The morning after I read James's ledger, I couldn't sleep past 4 a.m. I lay there in the dark bedroom, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through numbers and dates and painful realizations. Finally, I gave up and went downstairs to the kitchen. The house was freezing. I'd been keeping the heat low to save money, another sacrifice I'd made without telling anyone. I wrapped James's old flannel robe around myself and started the coffee maker. While it brewed, I spread James's ledger across the kitchen table and started making my own list in a notebook, a complete accounting of everything we'd given. Vanessa. College tuition, $78,000. We took out a second mortgage. Wedding, $35,000. James worked overtime for 8 months straight. First house down payment, $40,000. Our entire retirement savings that year. Car when hers broke down, $18,000. Childcare money. While I watched Sophie and Emma, $0. But I calculated it. 5,200 hours over 6 years. At 15 hour, that's $78,000 worth of free childcare. Emergency loans over the years, $23,000. The roof repair last month, $4,000 Brandon college tuition, $52,000 law school, $95,000. James postponed retirement for 3 years. Car, $22,000. First year living expenses when he couldn't find work, $31,000. Wedding, $28,000. His wife's family contributed nothing. Down payment on their townhouse, $55,000. The last of James's life insurance. Various loans, $19,000. I sat back and stared at the total. $578,000, over $500,000 we'd given to our children over the past 30 years. And that didn't include the countless dinners I'd cooked, the countless hours of babysitting, the countless times I'd dropped everything to help with some crisis or another. My coffee had gone cold while I calculated. I got up to reheat it, and that's when I noticed the envelope on the counter. It had been there for 3 days. I'd been avoiding opening it because I knew it was the bill from the hospital for my mammogram last month, the one that found the lump. I'd been avoiding the follow-up appointment too. It cost $320 just for the consultation, and I didn't have it. Not after giving Vanessa that $4,000. I opened the envelope with shaking hands. The bill was $847, due in 30 days. I set it down next to my notebook of calculations and felt something crack inside my chest. I had found a lump in my breast. I couldn't afford to find out if it was cancer. But I'd given my daughter $4,000 3 weeks ago for a roof repair that I later found out, from a casual comment she made on Facebook, was actually for a vacation to Cabo. The roof was fine. She'd wanted a beach vacation. My phone rang, Vanessa calling. I almost didn't answer, but old habits die hard. Hi, sweetheart. Mom, I need a favor. No greeting, no small talk, just straight to the need. What is it? Sophie needs $500 for this leadership conference her school is doing. It's a really amazing opportunity and all her friends are going. Can you help us out? I looked at the hospital bill, the overdue property tax notice, the empty savings account. Vanessa, I gave you $4,000 3 weeks ago. That was for the roof, Mom. This is different. This is for your granddaughter's education. The roof that you posted about on Facebook? The one that's fine, but you went to Cabo instead? Silence. Then, were you stalking my Facebook? You posted it publicly, with photos. You and David on the beach with margaritas, captioned, "Much needed getaway." Oh my God, Mom, I can't believe you're being like this. Yes, fine, we went to Cabo. We needed a break. We've been so stressed. The roof thing was just easier than explaining that we needed mental health time. So you lied to me. I didn't lie. I just simplified. And honestly, this is exactly the kind of judgment we were talking about. This is why we didn't want you at Thanksgiving. You make everything into this big drama. I felt very calm suddenly, eerily calm. I have a lump in my breast, Vanessa. What? A lump? They found it on my mammogram last month. I need to go back for more tests, but I can't afford it because I gave you $4,000 for a fake roof repair so you could drink margaritas in Mexico. Mom, Why didn't you tell me? When would I have told you? You call maybe once every 2 weeks, and only when you need something. When was I supposed to bring up my medical issues? That's not fair. I've been busy with work and the girls, and I can't give Sophie money for the conference. I don't have it. But Mom, she'll be the only one not going. You can't do that to her. I'm not doing anything to her. You took the money that could have helped her and spent it on vacation. I cannot believe how selfish you're being right now. And she hung up. I sat there holding my phone, staring at the hospital bill, and started laughing. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who just realized how completely insane their life had become. My daughter had stolen money from me, because that's what it was, stealing. When you lie about why you need it, and I was the selfish one. I picked up my phone and did something I should have done years ago. I called my bank. First National Bank. This is Gregory. How can I help you? I need to speak to someone about my accounts. I need to make some changes. That afternoon, I drove to the bank. It was the first time I'd driven in weeks. I'd been avoiding it to save on gas, but this was important. I met with a financial advisor named Sandra, a kind woman in her 40s who listened patiently as I explained my situation. Mrs. Coleman, let me make sure I understand. Your children have received over $500,000 from you and your late husband, most of it documented as loans that were never repaid. Yes. And you're currently living on Social Security and a small pension? Yes. About $2,800 a month total. And your monthly expenses? About $2,600. But that's with me keeping the heat low and not driving much and buying the cheapest groceries. Sandra was quiet for a moment, looking at her computer screen. Mrs. Coleman, I'm going to be very direct with you. You're one unexpected expense away from financial disaster. If your car breaks down, if you have a medical emergency, if the house needs a major repair, you have no safety net. I know. Meanwhile, your children are taking vacations and living in houses you helped them buy. Yes. She leaned back in her chair. What do you want to do? I want to protect what little I have left. I want to make sure that no one can take anything else from me. And I paused, gathering courage. I want to understand what my legal options are for getting some of that money back. Sandra nodded slowly. I can help you protect your accounts. As for getting money back, you'd need to talk to a lawyer. But I can tell you this, with documentation like you have, you'd have a strong case. By the time I left the bank 2 hours later, I'd done several things. Closed the savings account Vanessa and Brandon had access to for emergencies. Changed all my passwords. Set up alerts for any transaction over $100. Removed both children as authorized users on my accounts. Removed them as beneficiaries on my life insurance. Set up an appointment with an estate attorney. I sat in my car in the bank parking lot and waited for my phone to ring. It took exactly 43 minutes. Vanessa calling. Mom, what the hell? I just tried to transfer money from your savings account, and it says I don't have access anymore. What's going on? I closed that account. Why would you do that? Because it's my money, Vanessa, not yours. But what if I have an emergency? Like a roof emergency or a beach vacation emergency? Oh my God, you're still on that. I said I was sorry. You actually didn't say you were sorry. You said I was being judgmental. Fine. I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you want to hear? Now can you please restore my access? I need to pay Sophie's tuition and... No. Silence. What do you mean, no? I mean, no. I'm not restoring your access. I'm not giving you any more money. I'm done. You're done? What does that even mean? It means exactly what it sounds like. I'm 72 years old, Vanessa. I have a potential cancer diagnosis I can't afford to investigate. I have property taxes I can't pay. I'm living on less than $200 a month after expenses. And you're asking me for more money for a conference your daughter doesn't need while you take beach vacations. I cannot believe this. Brandon was right. You have become so bitter and mean since Dad died. Have I? Or have I just stopped being your personal ATM? You know what, Mom? Maybe it's good you're not coming to Thanksgiving. I don't think I want to be around this energy. That works out perfectly then, since I wasn't invited anyway. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But underneath the adrenaline, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Power. The power of saying no. The power of protecting myself. The power of choosing me. When I got home, there was a car in my driveway, Brandon's SUV. He was sitting on my front porch, and he did not look happy. "Mom, what the hell is going on?" Vanessa called me crying, saying you cut her off and accused her of stealing. I unlocked the front door. "Come inside, Brandon, we need to talk." Brandon followed me into the kitchen, and I could feel the anger radiating off him. "Sit down," I said, putting the kettle on. Not because I wanted tea, but because I needed something to do with my hands. "I don't want to sit, Mom. I want to know what's going on with you. First you get weird about Thanksgiving. Now you're accusing Vanessa of lying and cutting off her account access. Do you know why I can't afford my property taxes this year?" He stopped mid-rant. "What?" "My property taxes, they're overdue. Do you know why?" No. "I assumed you had enough. I gave Vanessa $4,000 last month for a roof repair that turned out to be a vacation to Cabo." Brandon's face shifted. "Mom, if she said it was for the roof, she posted pictures from Cabo on Facebook. Margaritas on the beach. Much needed getaway." "Her roof is fine, Brandon. I drove by there yesterday. Not a single new shingle." He sat down then, heavily. I set James's ledger on the table between us. "Your father kept records of everything we gave you kids, every dollar, every loan, every emergency we helped with. I want you to see what 50 years of unconditional love looks like in numbers." I opened to his page. "College, $52,000. We could have afforded that, barely, but if you hadn't changed majors 3 times and turned a 4-year degree into 6 years. Mom, law school, $95,000. Your father worked until he was 70 years old because we took out loans to pay for your law school. He wanted to retire at 65. He got 5 years, Brandon. 5 years of retirement before the stroke killed him. He wanted to help me. Of course he did. We both did. That's not the point." I flipped pages. First-year expenses when you couldn't find work. $31,000, car. $22,000, wedding. $28,000 because Lisa's parents didn't believe in going into debt for one day. You offered to pay for the wedding. We did, because we loved you and wanted you to be happy. But Brandon, it was supposed to be $10,000. You and Lisa kept adding things. Ice sculptures, premium bar, designer invitations. And every time we said it was getting expensive, you both made us feel cheap and unsupportive. He was quiet now, staring at the numbers. Down payment on your townhouse, $55,000. That was your father's life insurance, Brandon. Every penny of it. The insurance that was supposed to keep me secure after he died. You said it was an early inheritance. It was supposed to be your inheritance after I died, not while I'm still alive and struggling to pay my own bills. I flipped to the back of the ledger where James had made notes in the margins. Look at this. March 2019. Gave Brandon $3,000 for property taxes. Our furnace needs replacing, but we'll have to wait. We froze that winter, Brandon. The furnace kept breaking down, and we couldn't afford to replace it until the next year. I didn't know. Of course you didn't know, because we didn't tell you. We never told you when your needs came at the cost of ours. That's what parents do. I sat down across from him. But here's what I'm realizing, Brandon. We didn't do you any favors. We taught you that your wants were more important than our needs. We taught you that we were an endless resource. We taught you that you never had to sacrifice anything because we'd do it for you. That's not fair, Mom, isn't it? When was the last time you asked me how I was doing? Not, are you okay in passing? Actually asked about my life? He opened his mouth, closed it. I have a lump in my breast. Found it last month. Can't afford the follow-up tests. His face went white. Mom, why didn't you tell me? I just did. And before you ask, I couldn't tell you before because the only time you call is when you need something or when Vanessa complains about me. We don't have conversations anymore, Brandon. We have transactions. That's not, I've been busy with work. You've been busy for 20 years. Too busy to visit unless you need something from the garage or the attic. Too busy to call unless it's my birthday or a major holiday. Too busy to include me in your life, but never too busy to ask for money. He stood up, agitated. So what? You're just cutting us off? Punishing us for accepting help you offered? Help I offered, yes. But also help you demanded, help you expected, help you manipulated me into giving by making me feel guilty or cheap or unsupportive every time I hesitated. I stood too, facing him across the table. Your father's last words to me, Brandon, were, "Take care of yourself now." He knew. He knew we'd given too much, sacrificed too much. He knew you kids would keep taking as long as I kept giving, and he wanted me to stop. So this is about Dad? You're doing this to honor him? I'm doing this to survive. I'm 72 years old with $5,000 to my name, a house that's falling apart, and a possible cancer diagnosis. You and Vanessa have received over $500,000 from your father and me, and last week you both agreed I was too uncomfortable to have at Thanksgiving. Brandon's face flushed. Vanessa was upset. She exaggerated. You backed her up. You texted me that I was too negative, that I needed to work on myself. I was trying to support my sister. What about supporting your mother? Silence filled the kitchen. The kettle had boiled and shut itself off. The afternoon sun was slanting through the windows, highlighting all the places where the paint was peeling, and the grout was cracked. Here's what's going to happen, I said quietly. I've closed the account you both had access to. I've removed you as beneficiaries on my life insurance. I've changed all my passwords, and I've made an appointment with an attorney to discuss the loans documented in this ledger. You're going to sue us. I'm going to demand repayment. What you do with that demand is up to you. Mom, we don't have that kind of money. You have equity in your townhouse. You have 2 cars. You have retirement accounts. You have the financial security your father and I sacrificed our own security to give you. I cannot believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me this long. Brandon grabbed his keys from the counter. You know what? Fine. Keep your money. Cut us off. See how that works out for you when you need someone to take care of you. Is that a threat? It's reality, Mom. You're 72. What happens when you can't take care of yourself? Who's going to help you then? Apparently not my children, since according to you, helping me is conditional on me continuing to fund your lifestyle. He stopped at the door. I'm going to talk to Vanessa. We're going to figure this out. You do that, and while you're at it, you might want to look at your own bank records. Because I'm betting you'll find some interesting credit card charges. His face went pale. What are you talking about? I check my credit report every year, Brandon, and this year I found 3 credit cards I didn't open, with charges that match purchases you've made. I don't know what you're talking about. The outdoor furniture set you posted on Instagram, the dates match. The charges to that specific store are on a card in my name. Mom, I can explain. Get out. Please, just let me explain. Get out of my house, Brandon. He left. I stood in my kitchen, shaking, and then I did something I hadn't done since James died. I went to the basement and pulled out all the boxes of financial records, every bank statement, every credit card bill, every receipt I'd saved, and I started going through them systematically. By midnight, I had 3 stacks, one for Vanessa's fraudulent charges, $31,000, one for Brandon's, $28,000, one for joint purchases they'd made using cards in my name, $14,000, and $73,000 in identity theft. By my own children. I sat on the basement floor surrounded by evidence and felt something settle into place. This wasn't about Thanksgiving anymore. This was about survival, and I was done being the sacrifice. Monday morning, I had an appointment with Thomas Hart, the attorney Sandra from the bank had recommended. His office was in one of the old Victorian houses downtown that had been converted to professional spaces. The waiting room had leather chairs and oil paintings and a receptionist who offered me coffee in a real mug, not a paper cup. I felt out of place in my old coat and sensible shoes. Mrs. Coleman? A man in his 60s appeared in the doorway. Gray hair, kind eyes, expensive suit, I'm Tom Hart. Please come in. His office had floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a massive oak desk. Photos of grandchildren lined the credenza. Thank you for seeing me on short notice, I said. Sandra spoke very highly of you. She said you needed help with a family matter. I set the folder on his desk. Inside was James's ledger, my documentation of the fraudulent charges, and a timeline I'd created of every major financial transaction with my children. My children have defrauded me of over $600,000 over the past 30 years. I want to know what my options are. Tom's eyebrows rose slightly, but he didn't look shocked. He'd probably seen worse. He spent 20 minutes reviewing my documentation, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. Finally, he sat back. Mrs. Coleman, this is one of the most meticulously documented cases of financial elder abuse I've seen. Elder abuse? That's what it's called when family members exploit elderly relatives financially. And yes, at 72, you qualify as elderly in legal terms. Something about that made me laugh. I'd never thought of myself as elderly before. Walk me through what you want to accomplish, Tom said. I want them to pay back what they owe. I want to make sure they can't take anything else. And I paused. I want them to understand that what they did was wrong. The last part isn't something the legal system can give you, but the first two, absolutely. He pulled up a document on his computer. Let's talk about the loans first. Your husband documented these as loans with verbal agreements to repay. The statute of limitations varies by state, but generally we have 6 years from when the loan was due to file a civil suit. Can we collect on loans from longer ago? Possibly if there's been any acknowledgement of the debt or any payments made. Have your children ever acknowledged these as loans? I thought about it. Brandon once said something about paying you back when business picks up. That was maybe 5 years ago. That's acknowledgement. It could restart the statute of limitations. Tom made another note. Now, the credit card fraud is a different matter. That's criminal. Criminal. Opening credit cards in someone else's name without permission is identity theft. It's a felony. With the amount you've documented, over $70,000, we're talking serious charges, potentially prison time. The room felt suddenly cold. Prison? It's possible. Though first-time offenders with family relationships often get plea deals, probation, restitution, community service. But Mrs. Coleman, I need to be clear. If you report this to the police, there's no taking it back. Your children would have criminal records. It could affect their jobs, their ability to get loans, everything. I thought about Brandon's law license, Vanessa's real estate career. What if I don't want to press criminal charges? Then we handle it civilly. We send demand letters for all the fraudulent charges plus the loans. We give them a deadline to pay. If they don't pay, we file a civil suit. If we win, and with this documentation, we get a judgment against them. We can garnish wages, put liens on their property, seize assets. How long would that take? Months, possibly years if they fight it. And it costs money. Legal fees, court costs. Money I don't have. Some attorneys work on contingency for cases like this. We take a percentage of what we recover. Given how much is owed and how well documented everything is, I'd be willing to do that. I looked at the photos of his grandchildren on the credenza. Happy faces, beach vacations, graduations. Do your kids ever steal from you? I asked. He smiled sadly. Not steal, exactly. But take advantage? Expect more than they've earned? Yes, it's more common than you think. How do you handle it? I set boundaries early, said no when I needed to. Made them understand that my resources weren't infinite. He paused. You can still do that, Mrs. Coleman. It's not too late. Even at 72? Especially at 72. You don't have time to keep making the same mistakes. I made my decision. Send the demand letters. For everything. The loans, the fraudulent charges, all of it. Give them 30 days to respond. And if they don't pay, then we file the civil suit. But Tom, I want to reserve the right to press criminal charges if they don't take this seriously. I can work with that. We'll include in the demand letter that failure to make restitution may result in criminal charges being filed. He pulled out a legal pad and started drafting. I'm going to need some information from you. Complete list of all known fraudulent accounts, all loans with dates and amounts. Any correspondence with your children about money? We spent 2 hours going through everything. By the end, I had a plan. Demand letter to Vanessa, $284,000. Loans plus fraudulent charges plus interest. Demand letter to Brandon, $312,000. Loans plus fraudulent charges plus interest. Total demand, $596,000. Deadline, 30 days to respond with payment plan. Consequence, civil suit and potential criminal charges. This is going to destroy your relationship with them, Tom said gently. They destroyed it when they uninvited me from Thanksgiving. I'm just making it official. He nodded. The letters will go out tomorrow via certified mail. They'll have to sign for them. Good. As I stood to leave, Tom said, Mrs. Coleman, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you have anyone? Support system? Friends? Other family? Why? Because when those letters arrive, all hell is going to break loose. You'll need someone in your corner. I thought about it. My sister lived in Arizona, and we talked maybe twice a year. My old teaching friends had drifted away after James died. The neighbors were polite, but distant. No, I admitted. I don't really have anyone. Then I want you to do something for me. Find someone. A therapist, a support group, a friend from church, someone who can remind you that you're doing the right thing when your kids are telling you you're a monster. Is that what they'll say? Almost certainly. People don't like facing consequences. They'll try to make you the villain. I thought about that as I drove home. Was I the villain? I'd given my children everything, sacrificed my own security for theirs. And now I was demanding they pay it back. But then I thought about the mammogram appointment I couldn't afford, the property taxes threatening foreclosure, the house repairs I couldn't make, the retirement I couldn't enjoy because I'd given it all away. No, I wasn't the villain. I was just done being the victim. When I got home, there was a car I didn't recognize in my driveway, a silver Mercedes. Lisa, Brandon's wife, was sitting on my porch. We need to talk, she said. Lisa didn't wait to be invited in. She followed me through the front door, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor James and I had installed ourselves 30 years ago. Can I get you some coffee? I asked, playing the hostess out of decades of habit. I don't want coffee, Helen. I want to know what the hell you think you're doing to my husband. I set my purse down carefully. Why don't you sit down and we can discuss this like adults? I don't want to sit. Brandon came home Friday absolutely destroyed, said you accused him of stealing from you, that you're threatening to sue us. Do you have any idea what this could do to his career? About as much idea as he had when he opened credit cards in my name. She laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. Is that what he told you? God, you really are losing it, aren't you? I have the credit card statements, Lisa. The charges match purchases you both made. I have dates, amounts, retailer names. I've checked them against your social media posts. Her face changed. Okay, look, that was just... We were going through a rough patch financially. We borrowed your credit, but we were making the payments. You weren't making the payments. I checked. The cards are maxed out and 90 days overdue. That's why my credit score dropped 40 points last year. She had the grace to look uncomfortable. We hit some unexpected expenses. Lisa, I don't care about your excuses. I care about the fact that you committed a felony. A felony? Jesus Christ, Helen, we're family. You can't seriously be threatening us with criminal charges over $28,000? Yes, I can. And I am. She sank down onto the couch then, the fight going out of her. You're really going to do this? You're really going to destroy Brandon's life over money? I'm not destroying anything. I'm asking for what's owed. If that destroys his life, maybe he should have thought about that before committing identity theft against his own mother. We don't have that kind of money. You have equity in your house. You have retirement accounts. You have assets. That's our future, our security. And what about mine? I'm 72, Lisa. I have $5,000 in the bank and a possible cancer diagnosis. I can't afford to investigate. Where's my security? She stood up, her face hard now. You know what? Fine. Take everything. Sue us. Ruin us. Whatever. But don't expect us to be there when you're old and sick and need help. Don't come crying to us when you're in a nursing home and there's no one to visit you. Is that what you think this is? Me trying to secure your future care by bankrupting you now? Isn't it? I laughed. Actually laughed. Lisa, if I wanted to ensure you'd take care of me in my old age, giving you everything I own would be the worst possible strategy. All I'd be doing is teaching you that I'm a resource to be exploited. That's a horrible thing to say. It's the truth. And here's another truth. I don't want you taking care of me. I don't trust you to do it with compassion or dignity. I'll take care of myself, thank you very much. With what money? With the money you and Brandon are going to pay back. She headed for the door, then turned back. Vanessa was right about you. You've become a bitter, mean old woman. James would be ashamed. That one landed, but I didn't let her see it. James is the one who kept the records, Lisa. Every loan, every dollar, every broken promise to pay us back. He knew exactly what was happening. And his last words to me were, "Take care of yourself now." So no, I don't think he'd be ashamed. I think he'd be relieved I finally listened. After she left, I sat in the quiet house and let myself feel it. The grief, the anger, the bone-deep exhaustion of 72 years of always being the one who gave. My phone rang. Vanessa. Mom, Lisa just called me. She said you're suing Brandon and threatening criminal charges. I've sent demand letters to both of you for repayment of documented loans and fraudulent credit card charges. This is insane. You're destroying our family over money. You uninvited me from Thanksgiving, Vanessa. You told me I made everyone uncomfortable. You stole $4,000 from me for a fake roof repair. Don't talk to me about destroying the family. That was a misunderstanding. No, it was a lie. Just like the credit cards you opened in my name were a lie, just like every promise to pay me back was a lie. We never promised. Dad's ledger says otherwise. Verbal agreement to repay by August 2018. Promise to pay back within the year. Said they'd send monthly payments starting January. Should I keep going? Silence. Vanessa, I have documentation going back 30 years. Every loan, every broken promise, every time you manipulated us into giving more. And now I have a lawyer who thinks I have an excellent case for financial elder abuse. Elder abuse? Mom, you're not being abused. Opening credit cards in my name without permission, taking money under false pretenses, convincing me to give you my life insurance payout while I'm still alive. What would you call it? I'd call it family helping family. Then help me back. Pay what you owe. Prove that family goes both ways. We don't have $600,000. Figure it out. You have 30 days. And if we can't, then we go to court, and I file a police report for the identity theft. You'd really do that? You'd send Brandon to jail, ruin my business, destroy our lives? You'd really let your mother lose her house to foreclosure, let her skip cancer screenings because she can't afford them, let her freeze because she can't afford heat? Where was your concern about destroying lives then? That's different. It's not different, Vanessa. It's exactly the same. You just didn't have to look at it directly before. She was crying now. I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me this long. I hung up, and immediately, my phone started blowing up. Text from Brandon. You're making a huge mistake. Text from Lisa. Our lawyer says you don't have a case. Text from Vanessa. The girls are asking why Grandma hates us. Text from Sophie. I can't believe you're being so mean to Mom. She's literally crying. Text from David, Vanessa's husband. You're a spiteful old bitch and you're going to die alone. I turned off my phone, sat in the silence, and felt something unexpected. Peace. For the first time in 3 years, maybe longer, I felt completely at peace, because I'd finally stopped betraying myself. The demand letters arrived on Thursday. I know because Tom called me at 9:47 a.m. to tell me that both Vanessa and Brandon had signed for their certified mail. They have 30 days to respond, he said. Brace yourself. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better. He was right. By noon, I had 47 missed calls. By evening, there was a car parked across the street from my house. I recognized it. David's truck, just sitting there, watching. I called the police. Ma'am, he's parked on a public street, the officer said when he arrived. I can ask him to move along, but I can't make him leave the neighborhood. He's harassing me. Has he threatened you? Approached you? Made any direct contact? No, but then legally, he's just a guy sitting in his truck. After the officer left, David sat there for another 2 hours, then drove away. The next morning, I found my trash cans knocked over, garbage strewn across my lawn. The morning after that, someone had keyed my car, long deliberate scratches across the driver's side door. I documented everything, photos, timestamps, police reports. Tom wasn't surprised. They're trying to intimidate you, make you drop it. You should consider a restraining order. Based on what? Vandalism I can't prove they did? Based on a pattern of harassment and the threatening text message from David. I'd forwarded Tom the text. You're a spiteful old bitch, and you're going to die alone. Let me draft something, Tom said. In the meantime, consider staying somewhere else. Do you have anywhere you can go? I didn't. That's when I realized how completely I'd isolated myself. All my old friends had drifted away. I'd stopped going to church after James died because it was too painful to be there without him. My sister and I barely spoke. I'd spent so much time being everyone's mother that I'd forgotten to be a person with a life of my own. I'll be fine, I told Tom. But I wasn't fine. That night, someone threw a brick through my front window. I called 911, shaking, standing in my living room, surrounded by shattered glass. The police came, took a report, said they'd increase patrols in the neighborhood, but we all knew they wouldn't catch whoever did it, and we all knew who it was. I swept up the glass at 2 a.m., then boarded up the window with plywood I found in the garage. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the hammer. This was my life now. 72 years old, alone, boarding up broken windows because my own children were trying to terrorize me into silence. I sat on my couch at 3 a.m., surrounded by debris, and had a moment of doubt. Maybe I should just drop it. Maybe the money wasn't worth this. Maybe. My phone lit up with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Coleman, this is Sophie. Please don't tell my mom I'm texting you. I need to talk to you. Can you meet me tomorrow? I stared at that message for a long time. Finally, I replied, yes, where? The coffee shop near the library, 4 p.m. I'll be there. The next afternoon, I arrived at the coffee shop early, sat in a corner booth where I could see the door. Sophie came in at 4:02, looking nervous. She'd grown up so much in the past year, 16 now, nearly an adult, but still my little granddaughter with her mother's eyes and James's stubborn chin. She slid into the booth across from me. Grandma, I'm so sorry about everything that's happening. It's not your fault, sweetheart. It kind of is. I'm the one who told you it was awkward when you came over. I started all of this. No, Sophie, this started long before that. You were just honest about something everyone else was thinking. She pulled out her phone. I need to show you something, but you can't tell my mom I showed you. She turned the screen toward me. It was a group chat. Vanessa, David, Brandon, Lisa. I started reading. David, we need to make her back down. She can't be allowed to do this. Lisa, I still think we should get her declared incompetent. My cousin's a psychologist. She could evaluate her. Vanessa, that takes too long. We need her to drop this now. What if we tell her we'll cut her off from the grandkids? Brandon, she's already cut off. She's not invited anywhere. Vanessa, but we could make it permanent. Tell her she'll never see Sophie or Emma or the boys again unless she drops the lawsuit, David, or we make her life hell until she gives up. Seems to be working so far, Lisa. Just remember, nothing that can be traced back to us. I felt sick. They're the ones who threw the brick, I said. Sophie nodded, tears in her eyes. I heard David bragging about it to Mom. She told him he was stupid for doing it, but only because he might get caught, not because it was wrong. I handed the phone back. Sophie, why are you showing me this? Because it's not right. None of this is right. She wiped her eyes. Grandma, I remember when I was little. You'd pick me up from school and we'd go to your house and you'd teach me how to bake cookies. You never made me feel like I was a burden. You were always happy to see me. I was happy. Those were some of the best years of my life. Mom would work late, and you'd give me dinner and help with my homework and put me to bed. And when she'd finally pick me up, sometimes at 10 or 11 at night, you never complained. You just smiled and said, "See you Thursday." I loved taking care of you. I know. And now Mom talks about you like you're this toxic person who ruined her life. But that's not true. You didn't ruin anything. We did. Sophie, no, it's true. I've been thinking about it a lot. You gave us everything, and we took it and never said thank you. And now that you've finally said no, we're acting like you're the bad guy. I reached across the table and took her hand. What your mother is doing isn't your fault. I know, but I'm 16. In 2 years, I'll be 18 and she can't control who I see anymore. And I want you to know that when that happens, I'm going to find you, wherever you are. And I'm going to apologize for my family being awful. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Because someone in this family needs to do the right thing. She stood up to leave, then turned back. Grandma, the credit cards and stuff. Did Mom and Uncle Brandon really steal from you? Yes. That's what I thought. Mom's been lying, saying you're confused and making stuff up, but I found some papers in her office, credit card statements with your name on them. She tried to hide them when she saw me looking, but I saw them. Sophie, be careful. If your mother thinks you're on my side, I am on your side, and I don't care what she thinks. After she left, I sat in that coffee shop for another hour. A 16-year-old girl had more integrity than her mother. That's what it had come to. But it also gave me an idea. I called Tom. I need to revise my will, I said, as soon as possible. What changes do you want to make? I want to set up trusts for my grandchildren, education funds that their parents can't touch. Sophie, Emma, Brandon's boys. But with one condition. They have to maintain a relationship with me to access the funds. That's doable. Anything else? Everything else goes to charity. The house, any remaining assets, everything. Vanessa and Brandon get nothing. Helen, are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. My children have made it very clear what I'm worth to them. Now they can see what they're worth to me. The lawsuit was filed 3 weeks later, $596,000 in documented loans and fraudulent charges. It made the local news. Elderly woman sues children for financial elder abuse. They didn't use my name, privacy laws, but everyone in town knew it was me. The whispers started immediately. At the grocery store, the bank, the pharmacy. People who'd known me for decades suddenly couldn't meet my eyes. Some thought I was brave. Most thought I was cruel. How could she do that to her own children? They were just trying to get by. She's a bitter old woman taking out her loneliness on her kids. I heard it all, felt every judgment, every sideways glance. But I also noticed something. The people judging me the loudest were the ones who'd raised entitled kids of their own, the parents who couldn't say no, who gave and gave until they had nothing left. They judged me because I was doing what they were too afraid to do, setting boundaries, demanding respect, refusing to be drained dry. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for January. In the meantime, Tom had filed for a restraining order against David based on the threatening text and the evidence of harassment. It was granted. David was ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from me at all times. Vanessa called me, screaming. You got a restraining order against my husband? Are you kidding me right now? He threw a brick through my window, Vanessa. You can't prove that? No, but I can prove he sent me threatening messages, and Sophie can testify to what she overheard. You leave Sophie out of this. I didn't bring Sophie into anything. She came to me. She's smart enough to see what's really happening. if you've been talking to my daughter behind my back, she's 16 years old. She can decide who she wants to talk to. Not while she lives in my house. Is that a threat, Vanessa? Because it sounds like you're threatening to punish your daughter for having a relationship with her grandmother. I'm protecting her from a toxic person. I'm the toxic one? You stole from me, lied to me, threw me away the moment I stopped being useful. But I'm toxic? She hung up. 2 days later, Sophie showed up at my door with a suitcase. Mom kicked me out, she said, crying. She said if I wanted to side with you, I could go live with you. I pulled her inside, my heart breaking and soaring at the same time. My granddaughter, choosing me, at great personal cost. Does your father know you're here? He tried to stop Mom, but she was crazy, screaming that she wouldn't have a traitor in her house. Sophie, honey, this is serious. I can't just let you stay without your parents' permission. I'm 16. I can choose where I want to live. I looked it up. It's more complicated than that. Grandma, please. I can't stay there, not with them, not knowing what they did to you. I made up the guest room for her that night, called a family lawyer Tom recommended to understand the legal implications. If she's 16 and chooses to live with you, and she's not in danger or being neglected, the parents would have to fight pretty hard to force her back, the lawyer explained. Especially if she testifies about her reasons for leaving, Sophie testified. In a closed hearing, she told the family court judge about the group chat, the harassment, the brick through my window, her mother kicking her out. The judge was not pleased. Temporary custody was awarded to me. Vanessa showed up at my house that night, pounding on the door. Give me my daughter back, I called the police. Ma'am, there's a restraining order, the officer started, against my husband, not me. Actually, the officer checked his notes. There's now one against you too, filed this morning. You're in violation. Vanessa was arrested on my front lawn. Sophie watched from the window, crying. Did I do this? She asked. No, sweetheart. Your mother did this to herself. The next day, the story exploded. Mother arrested for violating restraining order. Daughter in grandmother's custody. Lawsuit for over $500,000. My name was everywhere now. The court of public opinion was divided. Half thought I was a hero standing up to abusive adult children. Half thought I was a monster destroying my family over money. The truth, as always, was more complicated. I wasn't a hero. I was just tired. Tired of being used. Tired of being discarded. Tired of being expected to give everything and ask for nothing. The preliminary hearing finally arrived. I sat in the courtroom with Tom on one side and Sophie on the other. Across the aisle, Vanessa and Brandon sat with their lawyers. They wouldn't look at me. The judge reviewed the case. So let me make sure I understand. Lesnar, she said. The plaintiffs claim they loaned the defendants approximately $400,000 over 30 years, documented in this ledger. Additionally, the defendants allegedly opened credit cards in the plaintiff's name, accumulating approximately $73,000 in debt. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor, Tom said. The defendant's lawyer stood. Your Honor, these alleged loans were gifts, family assistance given freely with no expectation of repayment. As for the credit cards, my clients had their mother's permission to use her credit. I have documentation, Tom interrupted, showing that Mrs. Coleman was unaware of these accounts until she checked her credit report. The accounts were opened using her social security number and personal information without her knowledge. That's not, Vanessa's lawyer started. I have the bank's fraud investigation report, Tom continued. They confirmed the accounts were opened from IP addresses, matching the defendants' home addresses, not Mrs. Coleman's. The judge looked at Vanessa and Brandon. Did you open credit accounts in your mother's name? Silence. Answer the question. We had her information for emergencies, Brandon finally said. We thought, did you open credit accounts in your mother's name without her explicit permission? Yes. But no buts. Yes or no? Yes, the judge sat back. And these loans documented in the ledger, were these gifts or loans? Our father gave us that money, Vanessa started. The question is whether they were gifts or loans. He said they were early inheritance. Did he say they were gifts? Did he tell you that you never had to pay them back? Vanessa looked at her lawyer helplessly. We don't have clear documentation that they were gifts, Your Honor, the lawyer admitted. The judge reviewed the papers in front of her. Here's what I see. I see a pattern of adult children taking advantage of elderly parents. I see documented loans that were never repaid. I see identity theft. I see financial abuse. Your Honor, these are good people who made some mistakes, Vanessa's lawyer tried. These are criminals who exploited their mother, the judge corrected, and I'm not inclined to be lenient. She ruled in my favor on everything. $596,000 judgment against Vanessa and Brandon, jointly and severally liable, plus legal fees, plus damages, total $673,000. How do you expect us to pay that? Brandon shouted, standing up. That's your problem, not mine, the judge said. You created this debt. You'll figure out how to pay it. Wage garnishment starts immediately. Liens will be placed on your properties. And I'm referring the credit card fraud to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. No, Vanessa gasped. You committed felony identity theft. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? After the hearing, Tom walked me to my car. You won, he said. Completely. Then why doesn't it feel like winning? Because you lost your family in the process. I lost them the day they uninvited me from Thanksgiving. This just made it official. Sophie was waiting in the car. What happened? I won. The judge ruled in my favor for everything. Does that mean Mom and Uncle Brandon have to pay you back? Yes. Good, she said fiercely. They deserve it. I drove home slowly, processing what had just happened. I'd won. I'd get my money back. My children would face consequences. Justice had been served. So why did I feel so empty? The money started coming in slowly. Wage garnishments from both Brandon and Vanessa's paychecks. Brandon was forced to sell his townhouse, the one James's life insurance had purchased. Vanessa had to liquidate her retirement accounts, taking a massive tax hit. They were financially destroyed, and I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not regret, just a strange, hollow numbness. Sophie thrived in my house. She got a part-time job at the library. Her grades improved. She started smiling again. Grandma, I got accepted to State University, she told me one evening. Full scholarship. Sophie, that's wonderful. It's because of you. Because I had a stable place to study. Because you helped me with my applications. Because you believed in me. The trust fund I'd set up for her education wouldn't be needed for tuition. But it would help with living expenses, books, all the extras that scholarships don't cover. Your mom called again, I mentioned carefully. We'd established a rule. I wouldn't badmouth Vanessa, and Sophie could have a relationship with her mother if she chose. I know. I saw. She didn't call back, though. Is that bad? That I don't want to talk to her? No, honey. You get to decide what relationships you want in your life. She sent me a long text about how you poisoned me against her, how I'm throwing away my family for money that isn't even mine. What did you say? Nothing. What is there to say? She still doesn't think she did anything wrong. 3 months after the judgment, I got a call from an unknown number. Mrs. Coleman, this is Detective Sarah Martinez. We spoke several months ago about the identity theft case. Yes, I remember. I wanted to update you. The DA is moving forward with criminal charges against both defendants. The trial is scheduled for June. What are they charged with? Identity theft, fraud, financial exploitation of an elderly person. Combined, they're looking at significant prison time if convicted. Prison. My children in prison. Mrs. Coleman, are you still there? Yes, I'm here. The DA wants to know if you'd be willing to testify. Do I have to? Technically, you could be subpoenaed, but if you're a willing witness, it's better for the prosecution. I thought about it. Thought about Vanessa and Brandon in prison jumpsuits. Thought about my grandchildren visiting their parents behind glass. Can I think about it? Of course, you have time. After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen, newly painted, repaired with money from the settlement. and thought about what I really wanted. Revenge? I'd already gotten that. Justice? The civil case had provided that. So what was left? Peace, I realized. I wanted peace. I called Tom. If I don't testify, will the case fall apart? Probably not. They have documentation, expert witnesses, the bank's fraud investigation, but it would be weaker without you. What would happen if I asked the DA to offer a plea deal? What kind of plea deal? No prison time, full restitution of what they still owe from the civil case, community service, probation, and mandatory financial counseling. That's very generous considering what they did. I don't want my children in prison, Tom. I want them to understand what they did was wrong. I want them to make it right. But I don't want to destroy them. Even after everything, they're still my kids. The plea deal was offered. Brandon accepted immediately. Vanessa held out for 2 weeks, then reluctantly agreed. 5 years probation, 500 hours community service, full restitution of the remaining judgment, mandatory financial counseling and therapy. No prison time. The day they signed the plea agreement, I got a text from Brandon. Thank you. That was all. Just thank you. I didn't respond. Vanessa didn't text, didn't call, maintained her silence. But 6 months later, on my 73rd birthday, a card arrived in the mail. It was from Emma, Vanessa's younger daughter. Inside was a letter. Dear Grandma, I'm sorry it's taken me this long to write to you. Mom said we weren't allowed to contact you. But I'm 15 now and I can make my own choices. Sophie told me everything that happened. At first I didn't believe her. I thought there had to be some misunderstanding. But then I started paying attention, really paying attention. And I saw how Mom talks about you, how angry she still is, how she blames you for everything that happened. But Grandma, you didn't do anything wrong. You just asked for what was yours. I remember when I was little, and you used to take care of us. You were always so patient and kind. You never made us feel like we were a burden. I remember that. I wanted you to know that I remember. And when I turn 18 in 3 years, I'm going to come find you, like Sophie did, because you deserve to have family who loves you properly. Happy birthday, Grandma. I love you. Emma. I cried reading that letter. Not sad tears, tears of relief, because I'd been so afraid that I'd lost them all 4 grandchildren poisoned against me by their parents' anger and shame. But Sophie chose me, and Emma was planning to. Maybe that was enough. The year I turned 74, I did something radical. I sold the house that had been my prison and my shrine, the house I'd been maintaining for a family that didn't visit, the house that was too big and too expensive and too full of ghosts. I sold it and bought a small condo near the university where Sophie was studying. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, maintenance included. A fresh start. Sophie helped me move. Are you sad? She asked as we packed up the last of the boxes. No, I realized. I'm not sad at all. Not even a little. This house was your grandfather's dream. When he died, I kept it because I thought I was preserving his memory. But he's not here anymore. And I don't need a house to remember him. What do you need? To live. Really live. Not just exist in the past. In my new condo, I started building a new life. I joined a book club, made friends, started taking an art class at the community center. I dated a retired teacher named Robert, who made me laugh and didn't want anything from me except my company. I traveled. Small trips, but trips nonetheless. The Grand Canyon, New Orleans, Maine in the fall. I lived on the money from the house sale and the restitution payments that came in monthly. And for the first time in decades, I lived for myself. Sophie graduated with honors. Emma turned 18 and showed up at my door the day after her birthday, suitcase in hand. Mom said if I came here. I was choosing you over her, Emma said. So I chose you. I pulled her inside. Welcome home, sweetheart. 2 years later, on Thanksgiving, I hosted dinner in my small condo. Sophie and her girlfriend, Emma and her boyfriend, Robert and his daughter, my neighbor Margaret and her husband. 8 people around my table. A small chosen family. I looked around at their faces, heard their laughter, felt the warmth of real love, not obligation, not transaction, just pure affection, and realized something. This was better. Better than the big dinners I used to host where I did all the work and everyone took it for granted. Better than the family that kept me around only as long as I was useful. This was real. I stood to make a toast. I want to thank you all for being here. Some of you are family by blood, some by choice. But all of you are here because you want to be, not because you have to be, not because you need something from me, but because you care. I looked at Sophie and Emma. 3 years ago, I was uninvited from Thanksgiving. I was told I made people uncomfortable, that I needed to work on myself. And you know what? They were right. I did need to work on myself. Grandma, Sophie started. No, it's true. I needed to work on learning how to set boundaries, how to value myself, how to understand that real love doesn't require me to set myself on fire to keep other people warm. I raised my glass. So here's to uncomfortable conversations, to boundaries, to choosing yourself, and to the family we build when we finally learn to love ourselves first. To chosen family, Robert added. To Grandma, Sophie said, her eyes shining. To new beginnings, Emma finished. We drank, we ate, we laughed late into the night, and somewhere across town, in the house Vanessa had managed to keep by getting a second job and cutting every expense, my daughter sat at her own Thanksgiving table. Without me, without Sophie, without Emma, with the consequences of her choices sitting heavy in her lap. I didn't know if she'd learned anything, didn't know if she'd ever apologize or acknowledge what she'd done, but I'd learned something crucial. I couldn't control her choices, only mine. And I chose me. Finally, fully, completely, I chose me. The doorbell rang just as we were serving dessert. I answered it to find a woman I didn't recognize. Mrs. Coleman. Yes? I'm sorry to interrupt your Thanksgiving. I'm Diane. I saw your story in the news about suing your children. Okay, I'm in the same situation. My kids have taken everything. I'm about to lose my house. I didn't know what to do. Then I saw what you did, and I thought maybe I could be brave too. I saw myself in her, the desperation, the exhaustion, the tiny spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, she could survive this. Come in, I said. Have some pie. Let's talk. She did, and over pie and coffee I told her the truth. It would be hard, devastating, lonely at times. But on the other side of that hardness was freedom. Freedom from being used. Freedom from pretending everything was fine. Freedom to build a life that was truly yours. Is it worth it? She asked. I looked around my table at the people who chose to be here. Yes, I said. It's worth it. She left with Tom's business card and tears in her eyes, and I went back to my family, my chosen, real, loving family, and finished my Thanksgiving. The next morning, I woke up in my small condo with Sophie asleep in one guest room and Emma in the other. The sun was streaming through the windows. I was 76 years old. I had less money than I'd dreamed of for retirement. I'd lost the family I'd spent 50 years building, but I'd found myself, and in the end, that was the only thing that really mattered. I made coffee and sat at my small kitchen table, looking out at the sunrise, and I smiled, because for the first time in my life, I was free. If you've ever been the family ATM, the one who gives until you're empty, the one who's discarded when you finally set boundaries, this story is for you. You are not selfish for protecting yourself. You are not dramatic for demanding respect. You are not wrong for choosing yourself. Share this if you needed to hear it. Comment if you've ever had to make the hard choice between family and self-preservation. Your story matters. Your peace matters. You matter. Subscribe for more stories about finding power when everyone expects you to stay powerless. Remember, it's never too late to choose yourself.